안녕하십니까. 11월 3일 목요일 미국증시 뉴스와 투자 멘탈을 챙겨드리는 짧고도 강한 뉴스 송공중 뉴스입니다. 드디어 파월의장이 입을 열었습니다. 한국 시간으로 오늘 새벽 3시 Fomc 정례회의 후 기자회견을 가졌습니다. 결론적으로는 매파적 발언, 즉 금리 인상 기조를 확실히 했습니다. 고용지표가 연준의 금리 인상 기조를 뒷받침한 가운데 매파적 발언을 할 것이란 예상이 있었지만 시장은 실망하는 분위기입니다. 세 줄로 요약하자면 시장에서 너네들이 희망했던 것들 따윈 없다. 금리 인상 더 높게 더 길게 할 수 있다. 그렇지만 고용지표 잘 나오면 고려는 해보겠다 입니다. 주요 문장은 11월 기준금리를 0.75% 인상하겠습니다. 12월 금리 인상 폭은 정해둔 것이 없습니다. 금리를 빠르고 강하게 인상해왔으나 최종금리까지는 갈 길이 아직 남았고 최종금리는 과거 예측보다 더 높아질 가능성이 생겼습니다. 향후 금리 인상 속도를 결정할 때 통화정책이 경제활동과 물가에 미치는 시차 등을 고려하겠다. 아직 경제 연착륙은 가능하지만 그 가능성은 낮아지긴 했다. 고용을 감소시켜 물가 안정을 이룰 가능성이 있다. 고용을 감소시켜서라도 2%대 물가 상승률을 어떻게든 해보겠다는 의지를 표명한 것으로 보입니다. 파월의장 기자회견 영상 보시죠.
Families and businesses. Price stability is the responsibility of the Federal Reserve and serves as the bedrock of our economy. Without price stability, the economy does not work for anyone. In particular, without price stability, we will not achieve a sustained period of strong labor market conditions that benefit all. Today, the Fomc raised our policy interest rate by 75 basis points, and we continue to anticipate that ongoing increases will be appropriate. We are moving our policy stance purposefully to a level that will be sufficiently restrictive to return inflation to 2%. In addition, we're continuing the process of significantly reducing the size of our balance sheet. Restoring price stability will likely require maintaining a restrictive stance of policy for some time. I will have more to say about today's monetary policy actions after briefly reviewing economic developments. The U.S. economy has slowed significantly from last year's rapid pace. Real GDP rose at a pace of 2.6% last quarter, but is unchanged so far this year. Recent indicators point to modest growth of spending and production this quarter. Growth in consumer spending has slowed from last year's rapid pace, in part reflecting lower real disposable income and tighter financial conditions. Activity in the housing sector has weakened significantly, largely reflecting higher mortgage rates. Higher interest rates and slower output growth also appear to be weighing on business fixed investment. Despite the slowdown in growth, the labor market remains extremely tight, with the unemployment rate at a 50-year low, job vacancies still very high, and wage growth elevated. Job gains have been robust, with employment rising by an average of 289,000 jobs per month over August and September. Although job vacancies have moved below their highs and the pace of job gains has slowed from earlier in the year, the labor market continues to be out of balance, with demand substantially exceeding the supply of available workers. The labor force participation rate is little changed since the beginning of the year. Inflation remains well above our longer-run goal of 2%. Over the 12 months ending in September, total PCE prices rose 6.2%, excluding the volatile food and energy categories. Core PCE prices rose 5.1%. And the recent inflation data again have come in higher than expected. Price pressures remain evident across a broad range of goods and services. Russia's war against Ukraine has boosted prices for energy and food, and has created additional upward pressure on inflation. Despite elevated inflation, longer-term inflation expectations appear to remain well anchored, as reflected in a broad range of surveys of households, businesses, and forecasters, as well as measures from financial markets. But that is not grounds for complacency. The longer the current bout of high inflation continues, the greater the chance that expectations of higher inflation will become entrenched. The Fed's monetary policy actions are guided by our mandate to promote maximum employment and stable prices for the American people. My colleagues and I are acutely aware that high inflation imposes significant hardship as it erodes purchasing power, especially for those least able to meet the higher costs of essentials like food, housing, and transportation. We are highly attentive to the risks that high inflation poses to both sides of our mandate, and we're strongly committed to returning inflation to our 2% objective. At today's meeting, the committee raised the target range for the federal funds rate by 75 basis points, and we are continuing the process of significantly reducing the size of our balance sheet, which plays an important role in firming the stance of monetary policy. With today's action, we've raised interest rates by 3.75 percentage points this year. We anticipate that ongoing increases in the target range for the federal funds rate will be appropriate in order to attain a stance of monetary policy that is sufficiently restrictive to return inflation to 2% over time. Financial conditions have tightened significantly in response to our policy actions, and we are seeing the effects on demand in the most interest rate sensitive sectors of the economy, such as housing. It will take time, however, for the full effects of monetary restraint to be realized, especially on inflation. That's why we say in our statement that in determining the pace of future increases in the target range, we will take into account the cumulative tightening of monetary policy and the lags with which monetary policy affects economic activity and inflation. At some point, as I've said in the last two press conferences, it will become appropriate to slow the pace of increases as we approach the level of interest rates that will be sufficiently restrictive to bring inflation down to our 2% goal. There is significant uncertainty around that level of interest rates. Even so, we still have some ways to go, and incoming data since our last meeting suggests that the ultimate level of interest rates will be higher than previously expected. Our decisions will depend on the totality of incoming data and their implications for the outlook for economic activity and inflation. We will continue to make our decisions meeting by meeting and communicate our thinking as clearly as possible. We're taking forceful steps to moderate demand so that it comes into better alignment with supply. Our overarching focus is using our tools to bring inflation back down to our 2% goal and to keep longer-term inflation expectations well anchored. Reducing inflation is likely to require a sustained period of below-trend growth and some softening of labor market conditions. Restoring price stability is essential to set the stage for achieving maximum employment and stable prices in the longer run. The historical record cautions strongly against prematurely loosening policy. We will stay the course until the job is done. To conclude, we understand that our actions affect communities, families, and businesses across the country. Everything we do is in service to our public mission. We at the Fed will do everything we can to achieve our maximum employment and price stability goals. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
이러한 파월 의장의 강경한 매파적 발언 때문에 어제 시장은 폭락을 했는데요. S&P 500 3.36%, 나스닥 2.5% 각각 하락했습니다. 파월 의장 연설 후 공포 탐욕 지수는 52포인트를 기록했습니다. 미국 증시 캘린더입니다. 이번 주 Fomc 회의가 있었고요. 그 다음에 다양한 지표 발표가 있습니다. 이번 주 금요일 서비스업 PMI와 고용보고서가 발표됩니다. 과연 물가가 꺾일지 12월 금리 방향을 가늠할 수 있는 중요한 지표가 될 것 같습니다. 다음으로 Tqqq 뉴스입니다. 어제 파월 의장의 강경 발언으로 나스닥이 3%대 폭락을 기록하며 Tqqq도 10%대 대폭락을 보여 다시 $20 아래로 내려왔습니다. 저는 오늘 4주를 매수할 계획입니다. 오히려 평단가를 낮출 수 있는 절호의 기회라고 생각하고 있습니다. 지금까지 내릴 때 못 샀기 때문에 시장의 공포가 오히려 기회라고 생각하며 계속 분할 매수 들어가겠습니다. 공포에 사서 환희에 팔라는 주식 격언을 생각하며 멘탈 부여잡고 하루하루 매수하겠습니다. 긴 호흡으로 2년, 5년 뒤를 내다보면 오늘의 공포스러운 이날은 좋은 기회였다라고 말할 수 있는 그날이 올 것입니다. 네, 다음으로 여러분의 멘탈을 관리해드리는 멘탈관리소입니다. 오늘은 늦었다고 생각할 때, 나이 때문에 머뭇거릴 때 보면 좋은 영상입니다. 서정진 셀트리온 명예회장의 짧은 영상입니다.
꺼내보라고 하면 많은 사람이 늦었다고 그래요. 나 45살에 시작했거든요. 그 다음에 돈 없다고 그래요. 5천만 원 가지고 시작했어요. 그 다음에 그쪽 분야의 전문가가 아니라고 그래요. 나는 생명공학과, 약학과, 의학을 다 독학한 사람이에요. 그런데 그런 거는 전부 핑계일 뿐이에요.
이상으로 11월 3일 송공중 뉴스를 마치도록 하겠습니다. 시청해주셔서 감사합니다.